How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Thousand Mile Coffee. Today you're riding with Jason.
And David.
On today's trip, we've got a special guest on the phone with us, a friend of ours, Mark. Say hey, Mark.
Hey.
He's actually currently working right now. We brought him on because he's been driving for a long time, and we want to let him tell y'all what kind of experiences he's had in each field that he's done, and if that's the field that you particularly want to go to work in, you know kind of what to expect. Give us a quick rundown, Mark, on everything you've done, or give the listeners a quick rundown on everything you've done since you've been driving.
I pulled about everything but livestock. So everything from reefers and box vans, open deck, oversized, and currently pulling tankers. Livestock's about the only thing I haven't done.
You did some dump trailer work in there as well, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Did some dump trailer, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that too much.
Yeah, I know that's a touchy subject. But believe me, we gonna bring it up.
It will be brought up, but we're not going to start off with that.
Okay, well let's start it this way. When you first started your career, what did you go into when you first started driving?
I was actually working excavation work and pulling heavy equipment around for, excavation company and, just local day-to-day stuff, hauling equipment to and from jobs. And, that's how I started,
So whereas most people start off in like drive-in or open deck work,
right.
You lucked out and were able to go straight into open deck heavy haul.
And I didn't have any of this school that you guys talk of and stuff like that. I was actually grandfathered in on a chauffeur's license. So,
but to be fair, I mean, you are old enough to have helped put the animals on the ark. So.
Just listen, buddy.
But, now, David, you just said he went straight into heavy haul. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mark, but to me, there's a difference. There's oversized work and then there's heavy haul.
Yeah, there is.
Now, my mistake of the slip of the tongue.
Well, what's the difference? In my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong, in my opinion, oversized is anything that's going to be over width, over dimension, over weight. But your heavy haul is when you start getting into the Jeeps, the
bigger
Stingers,
stuff, yeah.
The stuff that's over 100 and some thousand pounds.
Right.
Now.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it too. I mean, there is a difference. There's a big difference when it comes to that.
Right, because when you got your Jeeps and Stingers and all that on for heavy haul, you got to have doubles and triple endorsement, don't you?
Yeah. Yep.
And see, all I've ever done was, box, and I've done a little bit of flatbed work. Now, out of everything you've done, you've done dump trailers, you've done your open deck work, box work. What do you enjoy the most? Even pulling tanker now.
I really like the open deck. I mean, yeah, I enjoy tanker work. It's what I do now. I do enjoy it, but most of my life has been all open deck, and always preferred open deck. And I took a break for a while and went and hauled mail. Thinking, I get home more, be home a little more often, and this and that. But pulling boxes around. I mean, no offense to the box jockeys, but there's no camaraderie. I mean, open deck, there's always a bit of camaraderie, and you can, guys get out and help each other. Guys get out and talk. And when I was pulling dry van, I mean, you go to a warehouse and you bump a dock and you go inside, and I always called it the playpen. They put you in that playpen. And, you wait here until we're done loading you or whatever, and
I'm over here. You said playpen. I'm like, playpen? What the hell is he talking about?
You know how some of them warehouses, they cage off the area so you can't get into the main warehouse, and nobody talks to each other. Nobody looks at each, they won't even look at you. And if you do say hi to somebody, they kind of look at you like you're, oh God, you're going to get the cooties or whatever. But, and that's just, I mean, I just prefer open deck. You get out, you get some exercise, some work, you walk around, I don't know. It's just me. It's what I prefer. So
Right.
Yeah, Jason, you actually talked about that the other week when you said
I sure
when
did.
you pulled open deck, you actually were helping your fellow man out there secure the load, tarp the load, stuff like that.
Oh, well, I mean, even if
Whereas
you're just sitting around bullshitting and talking with each other, and then, you know, I go back to pulling dry van and I sit at the dock and I look around and everybody's in
Everybody's
their
just
truck.
sitting there.
Nobody wants to talk.
Yeah. right.
And I can remember I was working for Tim, and I was out there at Royal King there in Ohio. You know where I'm talking about, down there
And
south of.
good old Waverly High.
Yeah, there you go. And I was backed into a dock, and they had a flat come in there, and he was folding tarps, and he was struggling. It was a windy day, and I went over there and started helping him. And the look on his face of you're pulling a box. Why are you out here helping me? He was shocked. He's never had that.
Right.
And I wish more drivers would do that. You know,
Yeah.
just get out of your truck and talk to people. And I know I'm the world's worst. I don't either. But we're getting kind of off topic here. Let me ask you this. Since you've pulled pulling flatbeds or even heavy haul, if you have a driver that's going into it, what is some kind of advice you could give them on what to expect on their first few days of working, or their first few loads, however you want to say it?
Man.
I know I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here.
Hey, yeah. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing. You know, I mean, if you're out there open decking, you know, expect to work. You know, I mean, you put in a lot more hours open decking than you do, you know, pulling a box or anything else. I mean, you know, because you do so much work off the clock, you know, that it's just, you know, with your tarps and, you know, chaining or strapping loads down and stuff like that. I mean, and, you know, I mean, open decking, there's a lot of work that goes with it, but, you know, in my eyes and in my mind, it was always worth it, you know, so, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there. There were times where I'd pull up and sleep at a customer, and by the time, you know, they got me unloaded the next morning, I'd done been working 2 or 3 hours before I ever actually started my book.
Before you started your book, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But that's what you had to do to make the money.
Right.
All right. So, you know, when you went to doing, trying to think how to say this, when you went to work doing dump truck work, or not dump trailer in dump, what are some of the things that they taught you when you first got started, and what are some things that you could tell somebody that wants to do that to help them out for in dump?
Keep it level. Keep it level. That's all I'm going to say. Keep it level.
Well,
of course, that doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter, because my incident, I was on dead level ground.
right.
I mean, there was a whole OSHA investigation and everything because of the plant that I was at when I laid it over. And the material stuck, and it took me over, you know, and I didn't catch it in time. You know, the material was real dusty, and you couldn't see your axles as it was dumping the material out, and something didn't feel right, and by then it was too late. I was going over, and, so I guess being level doesn't matter, but you just be careful, you know, and I know guys that have hauled dump for, you know, 15, 18 years and never had an incident. You know, they'll dump on the side of a hill and not even bat an eye. But yeah, not this fella.
Well, now
When
when years went over on you, wasn't it also a fault in the trailer? Because I think you told me about it once before. Wasn't one of the trailer arms or trailer arm support supposed to collapse to keep the whole rig from flipping, and it didn't?
Well, see, and that's something else. Is I wasn't all the way out when it happened, and that could have been part of it. You know,
okay.
I mean, I was in between my second and third stage. The third stage of my mast had just hit when it started going, and so, you know, it wasn't up all the way, you know, so it was still down a ways, and yeah, it just, you know, it was heavy up in that right corner, and it just over she went. But, you know, I mean, I had hauled dump before, but it was all straight axle dump, you know, because like I said, I started out excavation, you know, and everything was straight axles. And, you know, if I was ever in a dump truck doing that, you didn't really worry about that. And this was the first, fifth wheel dump I'd ever done. And yeah, it wasn't the first one. I'd been doing it for several months, but it's just one of them things. I mean, I've seen them go over when I was doing excavation, out in a wide open field on flat ground, and a gust of wind come over and dumped a bucket that was pulling rock in for us and just laid him over. I mean, the gust of wind will do it. It was, you just got to be real careful with dumps,
So basically what you're saying is the fifth wheel dumps are a lot more dangerous than you would say your regular straight truck dumps.
Yeah,
like your dump
absolutely.
trucks.
Yep.
Now, we had a few episodes ago, we talked about our scariest moments. I'd be willing to bet that was probably your scariest moment.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, I know. It'd have been scary for me. I don't even want to think about laying one over like that.
Yeah.
But all right,
And then
go ahead.
that's the only CMV accident I've ever had, and I wasn't even moving. I mean, I was sitting still, and yeah, it was. You hear guys talk about accidents that were scary and stuff like that, but I was sitting still, and it'll make you clinch.
Yeah. I'd have had to say they'd had to have a tow truck out there, not just to flip the truck over, but to also pull the seat out of the crack of my tail.
Right.
Clinch factor, unbelievably. No.
Now, in reference to this, Mark, how long had you been driving before your accident happened?
See, that was 6 years ago, so about 11 years. 19, that was about 6 years ago. It's about 13 years.
You're showing your age.
Yeah.
We're laughing at this folks, because we always pick on him as being the old man of the group, and he's really not that old, but that ain't gonna stop me from picking on him.
I was about to say, we can't really say much for age-wise, because considering the year, our birth year starts with a 1, so
Yeah, fair enough.
at least ours starts with a 1, where his starts with a 0, then like a 9 or
Well,
something.
no, but see, right. I was about to say his is with a BC, to where at least we're AD.
Yeah, very true.
Wow.
Friends, huh?
You're lucky there's other people listening right now, because I got some words we're going to say later.
That works for me. Now, you pull tanker now.
Yeah.
And I know you've been pulling tanker for what, 6 months?
Yeah, about 5. Yeah,
5
right
months.
around Christmas time I started. Yeah.
Yeah, so you haven't been doing it real long, so you can actually, you're coming in. I want to say as a new driver, but new to that industry of the driving field. What are some things that you have learned that you could pass on so far?
Just drive the load. The term "drive the load" is, curves, and you hear that a lot of times. I've heard it a lot, in my time, that you drive the load, and
Yeah, I've heard that a lot with flatbeds.
With tanker, and that really comes into play. When you see a curve coming up that says 25 mile an hour, depending on what you have back there in the tank, you slow it down below that, way below that at times.
Yeah, because you're talking about the slosh factor.
The slosh factors and all that.
Yeah, the biggest thing that comes with your tanker is you're also what you consider a smooth bore tanker.
Right.
Whereas some people have baffles where, in reference, let's see if we can get our editor to put up a tanker here. Whereas in reference, you have some tanks have baffles in between them, where each section of the tank is separated. Right. Whereas what Mark pulls now is a smooth bore tanker, which is the only thing you could use for food grade. You have baffles inside the tank.
Right, so you'll have a lot more slosh.
Right, and like what I'm hauling, and you're also top heavy with a tanker. All tankers are generally top heavy, and then like what I'm doing now, I'm pulling a pneumatic, and they are top heavy. It's like taking a flatbed and putting the heaviest part of your load up on top, and you feel it, but
Yeah, you definitely would feel that.
you just drive the load.
Yeah, I know. I drove.
That's all I can say.
I've never pulled a tanker, but I worked as a first responder for several years as a volunteer when I was younger, and I have driven like a straight water truck, and those I never really understood slosh factor until you drove one, and that's one thing we can talk about it all day long, but I don't think anybody will really understand it until they are in that situation where they're pulling or driving one.
Right.
At least that's my opinion.
I guess about the only way you'd be able to experience it would be go borrow your buddy's pickup truck, get two 55-gallon barrels, fill them halfway with water, and put them up against the tailgate of the truck, and then try to drive down the road. I think it'd be about the only way you'd be able to experience the slosh.
Well, it depends on how full them drums are too.
That's why he said fill them like halfway.
Half full.
Yeah, half full. Yeah, you feel it. But.
Yeah, but okay. Now you did. You've done some day cab work as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not jabbing at you for day cab work.
Right. I mean, you wanted to be home more, but I wanted to bring this up. For anybody looking at going in the field, some people might think that just because you're a day cab driver means you're going to be home more than the guys on the OTR.
Right.
And yes, you're going to be home every day, but your quality of home time as a day cab driver who literally comes home, goes to bed, and leaves versus somebody who, comes in for 2 or 3 days on the weekends, I feel like the quality is going to be better. And that's why I kind of wanted to touch on this, because you did do day cab work for a while.
That's why I don't like day cab work, because your drive home, your drive to and from your terminal or your place of employment, that's taken away from your 10-hour break. Me, now, of course, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have bothered me, but now where I'm at, I have medicine I take on a schedule, and, I have I'm setting a schedule, and, it's going to blow that up. I like my sleep, and I'm not going to cut my time sleeping to be home every day. My wife's used to me being gone. She doesn't mind it. In fact, she prefers it, but.
Well, if I had to live with you, I'd prefer you being gone too.
Right? Look at my surgery, for instance. I was home for 3 weeks here this last 3 weeks, and she's like, you got to go back to work. I need my house back, But I'm that way with my truck. My son gets in here with me, or she gets in here with me, and they get in the back and start getting into stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? Put it where you got it, So I get it.
That's not where that goes. So don't do that.
Right.
Oh yeah, Jason, you're sitting here still having to organize your truck after your son rode with you last week.
Yeah, I am. He's, oh no, it took me like 10 minutes to put everything back. He knows how I am, and he keeps it like I like it. But when you throw somebody else, a second person, into something that is that small, I mean, things are going to get moved. So I didn't get upset at all. And even if he'd have rearranged my entire truck, he was with me, and I loved having him with me. So I don't get upset at that at all. But either way,
I didn't mean it like that.
I know you didn't, but either way.
But that's some people. That's what they.
Some people are very OCD. That it's like my phone is sitting right here because we got this call going, but that's how I want it, to where somebody could move it a little bit and it would drive somebody crazy. Right. People like that don't need a team or have somebody in their truck. But
teaming is not for me.
You just brought up a surgery thing. You just had a pretty major health problem out on the road where your appendix ruptured. How do I need to word this, David?
At what point did you realize you were in serious trouble?
Right.
And what did you do essentially to
deal with it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big issue. I mean, I know if I get sick on the road and I can make it home, I'm going to make it home. But with that, you didn't even know what was going on until they got you in the hospital. And I mean, if you don't mind talking about this, I really think this could help some people.
you wonder and you worry, but I mean, I just knew something wasn't right. And, I called my wife and, well, actually I had been sick, and earlier that day and, thinking, it was my sugar and, it wasn't at all, but it just got worse. The pains got worse and worse. And, I had pulled over and tried to get it to go away and nothing would happen. And, I actually called my boss and said, look, bud, I'm coming in tonight and, you're going to have to get somebody. I'm not going to be able to do it tomorrow. And then I went about 5 miles down the road and my old lady, she's like, what's the matter? And I just, at that point, I was in so much pain.
Hold on a second, Mark. You're breaking up. Hold on a second, buddy. Wait till you get a little bit of service back, and then we'll backtrack.
How's that?
Yep. All right, you're coming through. So you called Heather.
Yeah, and I'd called her, and she wanted to know why I sounded, what was wrong. And at this point, I was almost in tears. It was so bad. And she's like, you need to pull over. You need to stop. But Pennsylvania is pretty rural, and especially where we were at the time. And, I have a stop I stop at every day. And, but I was just trying to get back at least to the state of Ohio because, that way my wife doesn't have to go so far. And, I ended up stopping at one of my regular daily stops, and another couple actually backed in next to me, an older gentleman and his wife, and they noticed something wasn't right, and the guy kind of stood out his door and hollered, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I need help." And they came over and, they ended up calling a squad for me. And, of course my wife was on the phone at the time and, like I said, I was trying to push to get home. Well, my wife pulled the trump card and put my mom on a conference call and, you need to pull that back over. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm only 3 hours from home.
She
I'll be
pulled the
okay.
mama card.
Oh,
yeah.
She pulled.
And it's like, I've only got 3 hours. Okay, and they're like, no, pull over. And then I could hear my dad, he's like, what color's his truck? What's it say on the side of his truck? And my wife's rattling all this off to my dad. My dad's calling the damn Pennsylvania State Highway Patrol, so they were going to pull me over and stop me, and I'm like, no. So I decided to go ahead and stop. And then, we were 40 minutes from a hospital. I took a 40-minute ambulance ride to the hospital and, got down there and, they came in and said, hey, it's your appendix. And up to surgery I went. And, it's bad, when you're on the road like that. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't somewhere like Texas or, when I used to do the long haul stuff where I was out, 1,000 miles from home, but at least I was only 3 hours and, my wife could get to me, but, it sucked. It was kind of scary knowing that, they're getting ready to knock you out and pull your guts out, and there you are by yourselves, especially with all this daggone COVID crap going around, all the rules they have in hospitals and stuff. And it was just, but yeah, we made it through. It's all good.
Well, we're glad you're still here. We have to have someone to pick on a regular basis other than me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You got that Hawaiian shirt on still?
Actually, I do not. I took it off.
Yeah.
All right. That a boy.
And I'm actually not wearing my overalls.
What? Wait a minute. What's going on with you two?
No, we just decided to change it up a little bit. But yeah,
throw off the viewers that way. They're sitting there like, wait a minute, what? Where's his overalls? Where's his shirt?
I want a picture of this.
You want a picture? Say, prove it. Pictures or it didn't happen. But so what you're saying is when you start feeling that bad, just stop.
Yeah,
because that was something you didn't even know what the problem was, but that was something that could have killed you.
Right, and that's what the doctor told me. That he's like, man, he said, yeah, you're lucky you stopped when you did because it was at that point to where if it would have finished off what it was doing. He said, there was so much infection inside me that, he said, it was to the point that I could have just, passed out driving down the road. And then there I am, an 80,000 pound missile, and I could have killed myself or somebody else, and you're not feeling good, pull it over, there's no load worth it.
Right. That's 100%. That is 100% accurate. Ain't no load worth your life or anybody else's.
Exactly.
And I'm the worst one to say that, because I've always driven hard. It's always been a hustle, driving truck, especially the way I was taught, you don't stop when you're tired, you stop when you're done, but the older I get, the less it's like, yeah, I'm tired, I'm going to stop. But I mean, I've drove down the road so sick before, holding a 5-gallon bucket in between the seats, just so I could get to a delivery. I won't do that anymore. Pull it over. If that load's late, the load's late. You're sick. You can't help it.
Right. There's things out here that will prevent you from delivering on time, and
right.
It is what it is. All right. Well, is there anything we've missed that you can think of, David?
Not off the top of my head. Mark, you got anything else you want to tell the viewers?
Nah. Just answering your question.
All right. Well, bud, we appreciate you coming on here. That's going to end it for us. And we'll probably call you back another day. Maybe get a couple of our friends on here. And we're going to touch on, I don't know, we'll figure something to bring you back on for.
Hey, anytime.
All right, buddy. Well, you stay safe. All right.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, buddy. Later.
Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. That's going to end our session here on 1,000 Mile Coffee this week. We appreciate you riding along with us. We really do.
And as always, keep your shiny side up.